Good afternoon. We're on episode 19, I think, here. I didn't record yesterday because it was kind of a more chaotic day than I expected it to be, and I was tired, and it's been rainy and kind of dreary here. So it was nice to kind of just take a break, and we had a busy weekend as well because it was our anniversary weekend. So we'd done a bunch of going out. We were at my in-laws. Sunday I had to do groceries. So it was just one thing after another this weekend, which it was a fun weekend, right? We had a lot of fun, but that feeling after a vacation or you go do something really fun and then you're like, I need to take a day to just not think about anything. And that's how I was yesterday. So I really wasn't in the mood to jump into some of the topics I'm going to be jumping into today. So I'm going to do that now that I am more mentally awake, I guess. So before I begin, you can follow me and see the things that I post on Instagram if you're so interested in such things at fearmeitsbre-The. And I post on Twitter as well under the same handle. So today we're going to be going over the Ukraine leak because I haven't been able to jump on that yet. Not Ukraine leak, but the Pentagon's documents about Ukraine and Russia leak. Because that's interesting. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over Bud Light's apology. Because it wasn't an apology. It was kind of a slap on the wrist, half-hearted. Just, it wasn't an apology. And, it's interesting. It's interesting, the politics of it all. Because we have I almost said Whitney Houston. Oh my gosh. We have Whooopie Goldberg literally on The View threatening Anheuser-Busch, saying, you should be afraid of us, not them, about the boycott and the conservatives and the woke left. So that'll be interesting to go through. I think I'm going to start, however, with the Ukraine stuff because that's something else. So a little over a week ago, Reuters had published an article talking about supposed Russian disinformation. Have we heard that phrase so much since 2016? Russian disinformation, Russian propaganda, that potential documents may or may not have been leaked from the Pentagon, and that those documents also, the leak probably was Russian sympathizers trying to decay morale and lie about Ukraine and the war and say that Ukraine was doing a terrible job and that Russia was doing fantastic. Well, about a week after that, Washington Post and the New York Times outed a 21-year-old National Guardsman as the leaker. Suddenly, that Reuters story about, it's all Russian disinformation, just don't pay attention to that, ended up being totally bogus, and the government officials dropped that story and jumped on that, it was the young guy from the National Guard who did this. See how bad that is? That's bad. That's bad. He betrayed our country. He's a traitor. He committed treason. He's now been arraigned and arrested. And now we can put the story to bed and we don't have to talk about it anymore. And that's utter bullcrap because I'm not interested in the fact that some 21-year-old went on a private Discord server and leaked documents to his friends. I'm more interested in what those documents said. And I'm more interested in the fact that those documents totally break the narrative that our government has been selling us about why we're in this war, how this war is going, and everything. I've heard it compared to the Danielle Ellsberg and Anthony Russo leak that in the Vietnam War, when we were being fed these lies of morale, of, hey, Vietnam's doing great, we're going to win, we're winning the war. And then when they leaked their Pentagon documents, it showed a totally different story and trust just crumbled. And people realized that our government had been lying to us to keep us in this war. And people are relating this to that because they're like, it is very similar. We've been lied to, which I'm not surprised. I'm not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe. No, from day one, I've been like, yeah, we don't belong in this war. Yeah, I don't think that they're saying everything that's going on. Yeah, I think they're twisting things. So what these documents ended up doing, that's what I'm more concerned about, is the documents themselves and what is in them. They show the media bias toward government narratives and cover-ups because, think about it, right? You're a journalist and you have two stories you could run. You have 21-year-old leaks documents. Bad boy, slap on the hand. You shouldn't have done that. Now you're going to go to prison. End of story. Or 21-year-old National Guardsman leaks documents that prove that our government has been lying to us this entire time. Which story would a good journalist run with? They would run with, hey, the government just got caught in a lie and it needs to be exposed, not slap him on the wrist, clap him in irons, throw him in prison, all done. That's what bothers me about this whole thing. And it's interesting that things have shifted so that the same people that used to be like, yes, whistleblowers, protect them, listen to them, the government's bad, you know, in like what, 2010, are now the people that are like, oh, geez, that kid's a pretty bad person, isn't he? Make sure you lock him up and plug your ears and don't think about anything that were in those documents. So what was in those documents is definitely something that is worth reporting on, because Ukraine's not doing too hot in this war, right? So we had the Reuters article try and pass it off, and when they realized they couldn't pass it off anymore, they switched the narrative over to, hey, this kid is, he committed treason and leaked some stuff, so, so he's probably going to jail for the rest of his life because of this, and I think that that's an injustice, because they're trying to say he wasn't a whistleblower, that he was just like, oh, well, it was a private Discord server with his friends, so he just was kind of trying to impress all of his little buddies, but no, this is information from the Pentagon that we were never supposed to see that proves that they are a bunch of lying turds, putting it mildly. So New York Times and Washington Post, like I said, like what, week after Reuters was like, disregard that. They were like, we found the leaker. Here's his information. Here's where he is. Go get him. And the FBI went and grabbed him. The documents show that we are much more involved in the war than we have been led to believe. It is a hot war. It is not a cold war. And it contradicts the government's very neatly packaged narrative that we're only giving them financial aid, we're just there for moral support, we're not doing anything. No, we're involved. But like I said, it doesn't matter that some 20-year-old kid leaked information. It matters what was in that information, and that's the story that they're trying to steer you away from. And I will pull up some articles and stuff, but quickly I wanted to just get this kind of rant over with. So the documents had things like casualty numbers in them. They showed that the public narrative that Ukraine is on top and winning the war is blatantly false. It is a false narrative. It is designed to keep us within that war. It showed that Russia actually does have the upper hand, regardless of what the Biden administration would like you to think. The U.S. military is totally embedded in Ukraine. Then they're not planning for any negotiations, at least until late 2023. So that's another thing with, say, like Boris Johnson. When he flew out to stop Zelensky, a year ago? When he was all ready to broker peace with Putin and be done. Boris Johnson flew out and said, don't you dare do that. We're going to keep good. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep doing this. And forced Ukraine to remain in a war. Zelensky also wants to use U.S. weapons that we are providing and funding to directly strike Russia, which makes no sense because that's going to go over great. And it just shows the media's bias toward government narratives and cover-ups and psyops and proxy wars. Like, it sounds crazy, but it's not. And the plan is definitely to draw out the war for what, financial gain, for whatever they think that it is giving them. Our government just wants us to keep going for some bizarre reason. So I'm going to pull up the Reuters article. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's long and it's irrelevant and it's false information that wasn't ever corrected. I don't think Reuters ever actually came out and said, oh, you know that article that we published? Disregard it. This is the real information. I think they just kind of buried it, but I have it pulled up. Well, I don't have it pulled up yet. We're on our way there. There we go. Let me switch the screen over. Russia likely behind U.S. military document leak, U.S. officials say. So here is that. Look, the Pentagon. So on April 7th, Reuters published, Russia or pro-Russian elements are likely behind the leak of several U.S. classified military documents posted on social media that offer a partial month-old snapshot of the war in Ukraine, 3 U.S. officials told Reuters on Friday, while the Justice Department said separately it was probing the leak. The documents appear to have been altered to lower the number of casualties suffered by Russian forces. How do you know they've been altered? I've seen the pictures of them. The U.S. officials said, adding their assessments were informal and separate from the investigation into the leak itself. Then why are you listening to them? It's informal and separate from the investigation. The U.S. officials spoke on condition of anonymity. Yeah, that makes me trust them more, given the sensitivity of the matter, and declined to discuss the documents in any detail. Also, makes me trust them a lot more. The Kremlin and Russia's embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to requests for comment. An initial batch of documents circulated on sites including Twitter and Telegram, dated March 1st and bearing markings showing them classified as secret and top secret. Later on Friday, an additional batch appearing to the detail U.S. national security secrets pertaining to areas including Ukraine, the Middle East, and China surfaced on social media, the New York Times reported. Another thing that the documents reported is that, the U.S. is actively spying on the Korea. So, and trying to get Korea to involve itself more than, So, yeah, we're really upstanding country, aren't we? Later on Friday, okay. Reuters was not able to verify the authenticity of these documents. The Justice Department said late on Friday it was in touch with the Defense Department and began a probe into the leak. It declined to further comments. A leak of such sensitive documents is highly unusual. We are aware of the reports, social media postings, and the Department of Defense is reviewing the matter, Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh said. A CIA spokesperson said the agency was also aware of the posts and was looking into the claims. One document posted on social media said 16,000 to 17,500 Russian forces had been killed since Russia's February invasion of Ukraine. The United States believes the actual figure is much higher, around 200,000 Russians killed and wounded, officials have said. Yeah, of course they're going to tell you, oh, that number's too low. Listen to this number. This is the number that's official in the narrative. This is the number you should be listening to, not what's printed on these documents that we have right here. Speculation has been mounting about what offenses Kiev and Moscow might attempt in the war's second year. Well, apparently, directly attacking Russia is one of them. The leaked documents do not appear to offer any specific insight into Kiev's war plans. Yeah, this is old because there's a lot more information out now. Ukrainian presidential official said on Friday that the leak contained very large amounts of fictitious information. Of course they would say that, and looked like Russian disinformation operations to sow doubts about Ukraine's planned counteroffensive. Yeah, they're panicking. These are just standard elements of operational games by Russian intelligence and nothing more. Yeah, well, okay. It got confirmed that that's not what it was. So, like I said, we had the New York Times and the Washington Post leak the information of Jack Teixeira, who has been arraigned in the document leak. He's 21 and was arraigned after being arrested for leaking documents. He faces charges related to unauthorized distribution of classified material. Teixeira is being detained until a detention hearing on Wednesday. So this was April 14th, so that will be tomorrow, actually. He has 2 charges of leaking classified documents. Teixeira was charged with unauthorized detention and transmission of national defense information and unauthorized removal of classified information and defense materials. He did not enter a plea and has been detained with a detention hearing set for Wednesday. President Joe Biden on Friday commended the rapid action taken by law enforcement. No. While we are still determining the validity of those documents, I've directed our military and intelligence community to take steps to further secure and limit distribution of sensitive information. You mean catching you in a direct lie to the American people? And our national security team is closely coordinating with our partners and allies, the statement read in part. Court documents show the FBI used Discord billings to identify Teixeira. Discord, a chat server popular with gamers, was where sources say Teixeira first shared the documents in a private group. In the court documents, investigators disclosed Teixeira began photographing documents after expressing concern to other group members he might be discovered transcribing the text at work. In addition, court documents say Teixeira used his government-provided computer to search for the word leak in classified materials, giving investigators reason to believe he was looking for information on what the intelligence community knew about the leaker. That, I don't know, if I was gonna do something that top secret and try and leak documents of some kind, I wouldn't do it through Discord, first of all, because Discord is very heavily monitored and very heavily watched. people get banned on Discord all the time for minor crap. So they're going to catch you if you're doing it through Discord. Also, what was the other thing I just read that was a red flag to me about him? Oh, he used his government work computer to like, why are you searching about the leaker so much? No reason. It's not me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He was young. He probably just wasn't thinking. Teixeira was arrested Thursday following a Department of Justice investigation into who was behind the release of photographs of classified materials that circulated on social media sites. The Massachusetts Air National Guard member specialized in intelligence. Teixeira was taken into custody without incident. The documents revealed information on the war in Ukraine, including the dire state of Ukraine's air defense. Other national security information in the documents included information on the Middle East and China, and details on the U.S. intelligence operations in Russia. The documents also indicated the U.S. is spying on allies like South Korea and Israel. Yep. Lawmakers immediately pressed the Pentagon on how such sensitive information could be leaked. The photographs of the documents show crease lines from being folded, a suspected result of the leaker pocketing the materials to later share. The photographs of the material were first posted on a private Discord server. The Associated Press stories say the leaker was identified as the OG, what is he, Andrew Tate, by a member of the online chat group known as Thug Shaker Central. The group drew roughly 24 enthusiasts who talked about their favorite types of guns. Not sure why that's relevant other than to paint a picture. And also shared memes and jokes, some of them racist. Okay, but anything is racist to the woke left, so I don't know how many grains of salt I will give them there. The group also held a running discussion of wars that included talk of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In that discussion, the OG would for months post material that he said was classified, originally typing it out with his own notations. Then a few months ago, switching to posting images of the folded up papers because he felt his writings weren't being taken seriously, said one group member who declined to share his name. It was not immediately clear how Teixeira would have access to the records, but a Defense Department official told the Associated Press on Thursday that as an IT specialist responsible for military communication networks, the young National Guard member would have had a higher level of security clearance. Teixeira reportedly shared classified information on the Discord server for years before the documents were circulated on other social media sites, including Twitter. Sultan Majhi, a cyber technology expert and professor at Duke University, says the U.S. government can bolster its security protocols by upgrading an outdated and insufficient technology system. It doesn't understand the new rules around the top secret and SCI. It doesn't understand how to compartmentalize information better, Menji said of the current tech software. This isn't a world of file folders and file cabinets and folders with red tape on them. It all, to a degree, looks like a Google search or looks like what you would have on your normal computer except a slightly different system, and those systems have to be radically updated. So, I definitely I'm not surprised by any of this information at all. I shouldn't even say I'm disappointed in the government because it's like they did what I expected of them and what they've done for so long and just fed you lies to keep you, oh yeah, we got to support Ukraine. I mean, they're winning the war. They need our help. Yeah, sorry. You've proven too many times that you talk crap. So, I have another article pulled up. What is the date on this one? I'm going to do the one that's newer just because it'll be more updated. We have April 12th and we have April 10th. We'll go with the April 12th one. So it's a News Nation article. Wow, okay. Here are the 7 biggest revelations from the U.S. leaks so far. The biggest leak of classified documents in a decade created a sprawling crisis in Washington this week as records detail alleged U.S. spying on allies, insights into American thinking on the war in Ukraine, and at least 2 neutral countries mulling plans to support Russia. Pentagon officials are still reviewing the documents for validity, and the Justice Department is overseeing a criminal investigation of the leak. At least one of the documents, containing casualty estimates, appears to have been altered, but it's unclear how many of the roughly 100 leaked records were manipulated. 100 leaked records. I saw on Twitter a picture of like 3 of them, and then a few more. And then that Reuters article tried to make it sound like, it's just a couple pages. Pfft. Yeah, okay. The documents have circulated online since March, and possibly early as January, before picking up attention last week after a New York Times report. There may be more documents to come, but the leak has already done a lot of damage, forcing crucial U.S. allies to respond to what has become an arguably embarrassing incident for Washington. Here are the 7 biggest revelations in the document so far. Ukraine air systems, defense systems are in peril. Munitions for Soviet-era air defense systems deployed by Ukraine will soon run out, potentially imperiling Kiev in the war against Russia, documents show. The S-300 missile defense system is expected to run out of munitions by May, and the Gadfly system by the end of March, a document dated in February says. Both systems make up about 89% of Ukraine's air defenses and are vital to fending off frequent Russian missile strikes. The Pentagon documents suggest Ukraine could withstand only a few more waves of Russian missile strikes. Russian military bloggers and state-run media outlets have already published the details of the documents. Pentagon casts doubt on Ukraine's spring counteroffensive. Ukraine is expected to launch a major counteroffensive this spring, but the U.S. is doubting Kiev's ability to retake significant territory, a top-secret document says. An early February assessment indicates force generation and sustainment shortfall for Ukraine's military, the Washington Post reported. Ukraine is aiming to retake territory in the east and the south, where Kiev could cut off a land bridge to the Crimean Peninsula. Publicly, the Biden administration has signaled that Ukraine will regain territory in the coming offensive. But the documents paint a darker picture, with Kiev likely to struggle against entrenched Russian positions in southeastern Ukraine and with deficiencies in training and munitions, according to the Post Review. Cue Zelensky knocking on the United States door and saying, "Can I get more money? Can you guys send some missiles over? We're doing great, by the way. We're doing great. We're winning the war. But I just need a little bit more." I just picture Zelensky as the girl in Parks and Rec that goes, "Money, please." And then Henry Winkler, the dad, being Biden, being like, yeah, honey, I love you. Here's $100. Obviously, like, more than that, but like $100 for some reason is the monetary value that just popped into my head. I should have said like $1 million or something like that. U.S. intel on Russia could now be compromised. The document also contains information about Russia's forces in Ukraine, which the U.S. obtained through intelligence gathering. All the buzz around the leaks is likely to lead a crackdown in Moscow on communication intercepts and internal leaking. Some analysts have said Russia is aware of U.S. intelligence gathering methods and already have been working to plug up holes. But Kurt Volker, a distinguished fellow with the Center for European Policy Analysis, told The Hill this week that Russia will certainly start looking more closely now. They'll be scouring this and trying to figure out where are they getting this information, I've read that word too many times, from. How many of it's human intelligence, how much of it is signals, he said. The Israeli spy agency supported domestic protests. Some of the leaked documents indicate the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad supported nationwide protests against a proposed judicial reform from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to the documents, Mossad encouraged agency staff and Israeli citizens to protest the judicial reforms, which would award the legislative branch control of Netanyahu's party, substantial power over the judiciary, including ability to override rulings. Netanyahu delayed the controversial reform plan last month after a surge of protests in the country. The Pentagon leaks about Mossad's activities also suggest the U.S. was spying on a major ally in the Middle East. Netanyahu's office on Sunday denied the allegations against Mossad. South Korea was concerned about supplying munitions to the U.S. Other documents also point to the U.S. spying on South Korea, a major ally in the Indo-Pacific on support of Ukraine. The leaked papers said South Korea was open to supplying U.S. with artillery shells to replenish American stocks, but privately. Seoul was concerned about the munitions being diverted to Ukraine. So South Korea is like, don't give these to Ukraine, please. And the U.S. is like, gotcha. Send those to Ukraine. On Tuesday, the office of South Korea President Yoon Suk-yeol said a significant number of leaked U.S. documents are forged, citing a recent conversation between the defense chiefs from both nations. The suspicion of eavesdropping in the Yongsan presidential office is a false suspicion, a statement read, but the fallout from the leak already sparked tensions in South Korea. The Democratic Party in South Korea, a liberal opposition party to Yoon's more conservative party, criticized the alleged U.S. spying. We deeply regret the United States top intelligence agency has been carrying out illegal espionage activities against our allies, the Democratic Party said in a Monday press conference. Egypt secretly planned to supply Russia with rockets. Another bombshell revelation from the documents included the classification information that Egypt was secretly planning to support Russia in its war against Ukraine. Egyptian Presidential Abdel Fattah el-Sisi ordered up to 40,000 rockets be produced and shipped to Moscow, according to one document. El-Sisi I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'm just going to say it that way, also planned to secretly provide gunpowder and artillery to Russia. He allegedly ordered his subordinates to keep the arms deal secret from Western allies. That's not good. Egypt is a key U.S. ally in the Middle East region. The U.S. provides more than $1 billion to Cairo annually. Can't really be allies if you're fighting on two sides of a war. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby on Tuesday said the U.S. has not seen evidence to indicate Egypt has followed through on those plans. A senior Egyptian official also denied the allegations in comments carried by state media. Representative Don Baer said if allegations in the document are true, it should lead to a major rethink of America's relationship with Egypt. I've long criticized Egyptian government's appalling human rights record, but if true, this raised profound questions for all who defend their status quo, Baer tweeted. This is the last one. UAE agreed to work with Russian spy agents against US and UK. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, an oil-rich Arab nation in the Middle East, plan to work with Russian spies against the US and the UK, intelligence agencies, another document said. Russia Federal Security Service, FSB, the main successor to the Soviet-era KGB, claimed that UAE, so many acronyms, security officials agreed to the plan, according to a review in the document from the Associated Press. The Pentagon's document cited signals intelligence, meaning information was picked up through the electronic messaging or telephone call intercepts. Washington apparently caught the FSB boasting about the agreement, according to the AP. The UAE is a strategic partner for the U.S. in the Middle East, but also maintains close ties with Russia. An official representing the UAE told CNN that allegation is categorically false. So, I think I will stop talking about that topic now because I've gone through, I think, enough articles that and information that I think I covered it fairly well. If I didn't, let me know. But seriously, so there's information that we don't know in those documents. There's information we do know. And I'm just blown away that the Washington Post, New York Times, all of these big media outlets, not all of them, but most of these big media outlets are focusing on, we have some 20-year-old National Guard kid who decided to betray his country. Oh, so bad. Okay. He leaked documents. I'm seriously more concerned with what's in those documents and the fact that we have been lied to as people by our government. Again, it doesn't surprise me. I'm not really disappointed because if you have hope for something, that's how you get disappointed when it doesn't pan out. And I expected to be lied to. So it's just more of a, I guess it's more of a validation for me as to why that I am not a fan of the U.S. government and why I have not trusted it for quite a few years now. So, you know, that's just that. We're going to leave that one there and we're going to move on to the Bud Light stuff. So I think I'm only going to cover these two topics today because this is, I say, oh, this could go long if I keep going, but I'm at 28 minutes in my recording and I could cover the Dylan stuff in 5 minutes. We'll see what ends up happening. Maybe I'll jump into a third topic. Maybe I won't. We'll find out. So I'm going to read a Pink News article because it's funny. So Pink News is a super woke gay newspaper thing that I see a lot and I just roll my eyes at. But we're going to read their take on the Bud Light response because it's kind of funny. Anheuser-Busch CEO offers pathetic response to bigoted backlash over Dylan Mulvaney's Bud Light advert. Get ready for a ton of buzzwords is all I have to say. Bud Light, Dylan. Woo, good, fun. All right, let's get into this. Brendan Whitworth, CEO of Anheuser-Busch, has issued a lukewarm statement following the anti-trans backlash, that's not the problem here, over the beer company's partnership with influencer Dylan Mulvaney. On Friday, April 14th, Whitworth delivered the brand's first statement in the wake of right-wing bigots threatening to boycott the company because it gave Dylan Mulvaney a personalized beer can to celebrate his 365th day of transitioning. That is not why, and you know it. Nobody seems to care. Super hardcore conservatives do care about the trans issue. They do care, but at the same time, all kinds of other beer companies have transgender people representing them. They have gay people representing them. They have drag queens. I think it is a Jack Daniels that has drag queens in their ads. So really, it's not so much that Dylan is transgender, which I don't believe he is, because look at him, listen to him. He's not trans. He is acting. He doesn't have gender dysphoria. He is acting. I do not believe that this man is transgender or believes he is transgender or has gender dysphoria for a second. And you can fight me on that. So that's not the problem here. The problem here is the fact that Dylan Mulvaney caters to and advertises to younger audiences. He intentionally calls himself a girl, day whatever of being a girl, not a woman. Most transgender male to females want to be women. They call themselves trans women, right? Dylan is a trans girl. A girl, okay? He's acting like a prepubescent girl. He's acting like a 12 to 13-year-old girl who's just starting to get, forgive me, but in his words, boobies and stuff like that. He's acting very pedophilic, and he's helping, for some weird reason, Anheuser-Busch wants to cater to younger people. If they really wanted a good transgender representation or a good LGBTQ representation, or I wouldn't say a drag representation, I guess, because nowadays that's related to children. But if they wanted to get a good transgender representation on there to just say, hey, we care about them too, we support LGBTQ rights, they could have picked anybody else. They could have featured one of those male to female swimmers. They could have featured anybody else who does not make a point to cater to children, who does not make a point to get into your children's heads, who is not trying to, sounds cliche to say, trans the kids, but seriously, okay? His one goal is younger audiences. That's where he gets his clicks. That's where he gets his views. Why did Bud Light choose to channel their ad through someone who reaches people who aren't old enough to drink? And I get it. You've got 18 to 21-year-olds who are party colleging. That's not a phrase. Who are college partying, who want cheap, quick beer to get drunk off of. They're college kids. They can't afford much else. You do have people who underage drink, but does that make it right? Does that make it right to advertise to those underage drinkers? Seriously. There's a reason you have to be 21 to drink. I've heard people argue it should be 18. I don't know if I agree with that. I've also heard people argue that it should be 25 because of, alcohol can damage your brain. And your brain, your frontal lobe, does not finish developing until after 25 years of age. So if you're having a lot of alcohol at a very young, crucial age where your mind is still developing, you're gonna have a little bit of from it, I'm pretty sure. So why are we advertising to people who shouldn't even be drinking yet? And that is the problem that people have with this. Yes, there's people who have a problem with the trans thing. I say, whatever, it's a beer company. They don't claim to hold any conservative values anyway. I'm really not surprised. Not to be a total black pill about whatever. It's the target audience that Dylan Mulvaney focuses on, who he tries to sell his brand to. Why is an alcohol company trying to sell to children, is my question. That pink news is the problem that most of us have with it. All right, that was a tangent. Whitworth's words were condemned for, I'm just making sure I'm not rereading something twice, for saying nothing and meaning nothing when this could have been an appropriate opportunity for the band to come out strongly for LGBTQ rights and stand with the marginalized people just trying to live their lives in the face of hatred and bigotry. I'm not gonna comment. In this statement, Whitworth praises the employment record of Anheuser-Busch, the parent company that makes Budweiser and Bud Light, and says the brand never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. Well, you should have thought of that. They say even bad press is good press because it gets people talking about you. I wonder if that was part of the reason that they did that. They knew it was going to be divisive. Nobody's so dumb to think that everybody is on the same page about this. Nowhere does Whitworth offer support for the LGBTQ community or specifically address the bigoted backlash to Bud Light's partnership with social media star and Broadway actor Dylan Mulvaney. Keyword, Broadway actor. Tears were shed by right-wing snowflakes after Mulvaney, best known for his Days of Girlhood TikTok series, posted an Instagram video on April 1st where he sips from a can of Bud Light and shows a personalized can with his face on it, provided by the brewery. I wouldn't say tears were shed. So my husband works in a place where there's a lot of burly men. The kind of, I don't want to offend anyone here, but the kind of men who are kind of backwoods, they're not feminine men. And one of them even was like, I'm not drinking Bud Light anymore. This is ridiculous. You got to know that your main audience isn't kids under 21. Your main audience here are adults. I would love to see the percentages of how many people over the age of 30 buy Bud Light versus underage college kids with their fake IDs or hoping that they don't get carded when they walk into the gas station. I'm pretty sure the bigger percentage is the 30 to like death, 30 to 90-year-old men and women who drink Bud Light, because that is a much bigger demographic of people who buy alcohol. Okay. Anti-trans beer drinkers couldn't handle the collaboration and filmed themselves pouring Bud Light down the sink, binning cans, or in the case of musician and Donald Trump supported Kid Rock, shooting assault weapon at Bach. Can you just say shooting a gun? Is it that hard to say the word gun? At boxes of Bud Light in a bizarre tantrum. Social media users have flooded Twitter with transphobic hate. Nobody hates it. Nobody hates trans people, okay? Just don't agree with them here. And have promised to boycott the brand for going woke, which in this case means giving a trans influencer a free personalized beer can. Just the fact that Pink News is highlighting Dylan Mulvaney in such a, like, either they're fooled or they're just trying to be as woke as possible. Because like I said, he is not transgender. An Anheuser-Busch employee also confirmed several of the brewery's facilities, including one in Los Angeles, have been the targets of bomb threats. I don't know that that is true. Making mountains out of molehills potentially here. In his statement, CEO Brandon Whitworth wrote, as CEO of a company founded in America's heartland more than 165 years ago, I'm responsible for ensuring every consumer feels proud of the beer we brew. We're honored to be part of the fabric of this country. Anheuser-Busch employs more than 18,000 people, and our independent distributors employ an additional 47,000 valued colleagues, he continued. We have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and proud history supporting our communities, military, first responders, sports fans, and hardworking Americans everywhere. We have never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. So, all right. Whitworth, who took the job at Anheuser-Busch in 2021, also mentioned his military service and intention to protect the brand's history and heritage. My time serving this country taught me the importance of accountability and the values upon which America was founded. Freedom, hard work, and respect for one another. As CEO of Anheuser-Busch, I am focused on building and protecting our remarkable history and heritage. I care deeply about this country, this company, our brands, and our partners. I spend much of my time traveling across America, listening to and learning from our customers, distributors, and others. Moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beers to consumers across our nation. And that's a little picture of it. So, really? That was a very nuanced response. He didn't double down and say, no, we support the trans community. So in a way, I kind of see their argument here where they're like, dude, you didn't say anything. And they also didn't apologize for being like, geez, we're sorry. We realize that caused a lot of backlash and we'll try and do better in the future. Sorry about that, everyone. It was a very, I don't know. It was kind of flaky. It wasn't like, he didn't choose a side. He just kind of was like, oh, let's all have a beer. Let's all sit down and have a beer together. So it's kind of weird, honestly, on both sides. You think he would have, the fact that he didn't double down and say, no, we support this, tells me that they know they made a mistake. But the fact that they didn't outright say that also tells me that they're afraid of the other side of the coin and the backlash that would come from the LGBTQ community if they did apologize for Dylan. Democratic commentator and senior advisor to the DC Institute for Education, is it Caven? I'm not sure. Caven Schroff criticized the statement as pathetic and pointed out the only division here is being sown by bigots and those who court them. Schroff tweeted, to be clear, they sent a trans influencer personal cans of Bud Light. That's not dividing people. Caving to these hateful bigots is what divides our country. There's some tweets. Feet. Okay. The statement was also slammed on social media by transphobic haters, many of whom expressed their desire for an apology and for their hurt feelings from the beer brand. It's not about feelings. It's about what's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate to have a man who likes to masquerade and mock women and cater to children and be creepy and pervy toward children to be the face and advertisement for your company. So I'm going to show you Whoopi Goldberg, what she had to say about it, because you know The View is always a good source for information and intelligence. So we're going to go over there and we're going to listen probably to a quick video, and we're going to watch Whoopi Goldberg directly threaten Anheuser-Busch, because apparently that's okay. Can you imagine if a conservative said what she said? So I have that link here somewhere. Like I said, I didn't pull up all of these links right away before I started, because I didn't know, especially with the Ukraine topic, which ones that I was going to click on depending on how the conversation flowed. So I just have to pull that up real quick. Pink news, we did that one. I'm going to say we already discussed the apology, so I will skip the New York Post one that I pulled up, and we will do a Daily Mail one. Copy. There we go. Ugh. You know how I've said, for some reason with Daily Mail articles, my computer likes to psycho zoom them in? And now you too get to see what my eyes just had thrown in them. Hi, Whoopi. Okay. Beer doesn't have a belief system. Whoopi Goldberg and The View co-hosts slam Anheuser-Busch for rolling out Clydesdales as an apology for Dylan Mulvaney, Bud Light shambles, and says members of LGBTQ community are Americans too. So I guess they did some, they threw an ad out there. Jeez. Ugh. They threw an ad out there and they were like, America, Clydesdales, everything you love about Budweiser, all in one, to try and like deflect, I guess, and bring people together. And people were just like, really? It didn't work. Clearly, both sides are kind of mad. The panel of women derided the politicization of the beer company over its decision to partner with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Whoopi Goldberg said that beer is not a Democrat or Republican. It's not about being a Democrat or Republican. It's about the appropriateness and advertising to children, as I've said before. The 67-year-old urged the brewer not to let them scare you, as she claimed America was not transphobic. Whoopi Goldberg today slammed Anheuser-Busch for backtracking on its Bud Light advertising campaign featuring trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. The View host claimed the company's subsequent commercial for Budweiser using the famous Clydesdale horses galloping across the heartland was an attempt to offer an apology to its outraged customer base. What are you so angry about? Beer does not have it's not Democrat or Republican. It doesn't have a belief system. It's just beer, Whoopi said. The 67-year-old urged the brewer not to let them scare you, as she claimed America was not transphobic. So if Anheuser-Busch decided to use child pornography in their ad, would you say beer doesn't have a belief system? Beer is not a Democrat or Republican? It's just beer, right? I mean, think about that. If they put something totally egregious into that ad, use those same words, Whoopi, I dare you. That's weird. An ad was removed, so there's just this giant... Okay. Another picture. Goldberg's co-host, progressive Sonny Houston, said it was offensive that the Clydesdale ad was presented in an attempt to ease some of the tension around the Mulvaney partnership. You can't please anybody, can you? All of a sudden, they get this backlash, and the response is, like, let's get the horses out. And I was like, because horses are so much more American than trans people. Okay. Anheuser-Busch has used Clydesdales to advertise their product for decades. Decades. They've used transgender people for maybe a few years tops. So I would say, yes, the Clydesdales are more representative of their brand as an American brand than transgender people are, because they have not been used as an advertisement for Anheuser-Busch as dang long as the Clydesdales have. It's just... Sometimes I wonder if women have brains, said by a woman, right? Oh, yeah. Okay. I kind of want to listen to Whoopi's statement, so let me just make sure this does not blow eardrums. And I'm going to turn myself down, so there might be a second of silence while I try and figure out how to get her to speak audibly. So there's an ad. I'm just turning this down for a second during the ad because, oh, you can still hear it. What the heck? No. Yeah, there's an ad, so. Oh well. We'll figure it out. I'll just turn this down so that you're not hearing.
What are you so angry about? Beer does not have a, I mean, it's not a Democrat or a Republican. Yeah. It doesn't have a belief system. It's just beer.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, I think that these people that were destroying their own beer, which is also kind of dumb.
Well, thanks for the money.
Yeah.
What are you so angry about? Beer.
So she didn't even say the thing that I was thinking about, but they do mention it further down in the article, so you will get to hear about it. Where are we? Jeez. Ah! Somehow that's worse than Whoopie. I don't know why it zooms up so much when I use Daily Mail articles. It's so frustrating. I do have it zoomed, but like, geez. All right. Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth struck a conciliatory tone Friday. He put out a statement on behalf of the company that said, "We've never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people." Well, I don't know. We just read that part. "We are in the business of bringing people together over beer," Whitworth wrote in an open letter published on the company's Twitter account. It referred to the company's history and heritage in America's heartland, but never mentioned Mulvaney or the backlash specifically. Houston told her View co-hosts that people have branded Bud Light as an American beer, despite the owner Anheuser-Busch being a Belgian company. She railed against the United States, saying that this country is highly transphobic. I really hate how people are just like, I hate America. I'm so privileged. I get to do whatever I want. I get to be here scot-free. No, it's not. I mean, you pay taxes. But really, comparatively toward other countries, you've got it so good that you get to sit around and debate this crap. You have it so good that you don't have to worry about where your next meal comes from. You have it so good that you have time. You're so lazy and entitled that you get to sit around and debate what gender you are because you're so bored you don't have anything else better to do, I guess. Anyway. To which Goldberg replied, "It's merely the transphobes that often get the microphone, but I doubt that the country is as transphobic." Meanwhile, so-called conservative co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin called the Mulvaney Bud Light partnership a smart move to court the LGBT community. Goldberg then closed out the segment saying, "Listen, Budweiser, we're all Americans here. We appreciate your beer, whether it's your light or your regular beer. You have every right, and we have every right to buy it if we like it. Don't let them scare you. Let us scare you." Is that a veiled threat or a direct threat? That was an indirectly direct threat. Or a directly indirect threat. Think about that. Don't let them scare you. Don't let those nasty conservatives scare you because they said, we don't like that you're catering to kids with this. We don't like that this is the target audience of your influencer you've picked is children. We're a little uncomfortable with that. Yeah, the trans stuff's weird too. But I'm more uncomfortable with we're trying to get younger and more predatory with children. So don't let the people that are protesting against that and boycotting because of that scare you. Let us, the woke people who will destroy you, who won't let you have a business, and who will force you to do whatever we want in a more insidious way than just not buying your beer. You should be scared of us. That's what she's saying. What the heck, lady? If a conservative person, if Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump had said, you should be scared of us, let us scare you, they would be all over that. Like, Donald Trump threatens Anheuser-Busch. Ron DeSantis threatens Anheuser-Busch. Candace Owens threatens Anheuser-Busch. So, okay. On Sunday, in an apparent response to the uproar over Bud Light's partnership with Mulvaney, Budweiser, which is also owned by Anheuser-Busch, released a new all-American ad featuring their beloved Clydesdales. The 1-minute commercial featured shots of the animals galloping across western landscapes and past landmarks, including the Lincoln Memorial and Brooklyn Bridge. The ad for the beer, which, like Bud Light, is owned by Anheuser-Busch, appeared to be a return to traditional values for the brand, which had been historically appealed to the American blue-collar workers. I guess they posted TGIF with a can of Bud Light and people got very mad and yeah, geez, such large ads. Bud Light is attempting to move forward with its social media presence. On Friday, after nearly 2 weeks of silence, the Bud Light Twitter account posted again. The brand tweeted out a frosty can of its classic brew and captioned it TGIF. Through the post garnered myriad negative comments relating to the controversial brand partnership with Mulvaney. It has so far amassed a whopping 11.1 million views and 25,000 comments. That massive figure becomes even more eye-popping as compared to the brand's most recent tweets, most of which fall shy for the 1 million mark. Even a recent popular tweet from late last month promoting the brand's March Madness sweepstakes received just over 1.2 million views. Despite the nature of attention, Bud Light's partnership with Mulvaney seems to be paying dividends in terms of the amount of sheer exposure it has yielded for the brand. Yeah, okay. The reach is not supposed to come with $6 billion market cap loss and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of disgruntled customers. The disastrous fallout from the Mulvaney partnership prompted a lukewarm apology from Anheuser-Busch CEO last week, but remains unclear exactly what the next step for the struggling brand will be. I'm not going to play it with sound just because I don't want to. But listen, that's the thing here. Anheuser-Busch should have stuck to horses. Horses running in meadows on beaches and fields. This is far less controversial than picking such a polarized topic that you're going to tee off one side or the other, right? And that's the thing. No conservative really, from what I can tell, particularly cares if you have, like a horse. All right, that's fine. Whereas whereas a woke activist would be like, that's just a horse. You should have a transgender. You're not catering to us. We want political statements in your ads. And it's like, what did Whoopi say? It's just a beer. You don't have to have a political statement. You can have horses running through scenery and it just be fine. Nobody has to think about politics. So in trying to unpoliticize beer, they've effectively politicized it to a point where it's like, geez, okay, what is this country? What are these people? Oh, pretty horsey. It doesn't seem to be the case that online observing are buying the brand's attempt to right the ship. Many labeled that as pathetic attempt to course correct after Mulvaney partnership. My favorite advertisement by a mile was Clydesdale's after 9/11. It was absolute perfection. After you embrace the trans agenda, glorifying a man looking for his 15 minutes of fame by mocking women. I will never buy, drink, or serve you beer again, wrote one user. Is the horse trans now? Wrote radio host Dan O'Donnell. Nope, you guys destroyed your own base and market because you had to go woke. I'll never drink any of your products again, wrote Bear Brandon Sorrow. LOL, hard pivot, huh? Wrote Angelica McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party. Commentator Philip Holloway wrote, don't look now, Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser, but the Clydesdale has already left the barn. The train has sailed. The ship has left the station. Yeah. Hi, Dylan. He just keeps popping up, doesn't he? In his controversial ad, Mulvaney posted a clip of himself sipping from a one-off custom Bud Light can with his face to promote its March Madness competition. Okay, sorry, but Dylan, you shouldn't have opened that can. That's a commemorative can. Maybe they gave you more than one, but they gave you one? The value of that thing has decreased so much because you popped it open and took a sip. Anyway, that's beyond the point. That's a different issue. After the backlash saw parent company Anheuser-Busch lose $6 billion in market cap within 6 days. Mulvaney became well known for the Days of Girlhood videos in which the 26-year-old documented the first year of identifying as a girl, but the TikTok star has angered some feminists and conservatives over claims he's play acting being a girl and co-opting parts of womanhood he finds interesting without having to deal with misogyny or prejudice many women face. So, I'm not going to pull up an article on it or anything like that, but I am going to bring up that Donald Trump Jr., I guess, decided to weigh in and was like, hey, everybody, stop. Look, Anheuser-Busch put out a statement. Stop boycotting them. They donate a lot to the Republican Party, so everyone just start buying their beer again, which is kind of like, I don't know. It kind of feels like a low move, really, because I actually listening to Trump Jr., talk when he called in on Timcast. I listened to that episode and I enjoyed what he had to say. I thought he was great. I thought he was a lot better than his dad. He was a lot more well-mannered than his dad. He was very charismatic and he said a lot of great things, but that's kind of like dude, my respect. Don't make my respect for you go down, because seriously, dude, like, is all you care about the donations and the money? But anyway, that's a side thing that I'm not really gonna get into because it's just like, whatever. So anyway, that is it for today, I believe. I had a minor interruption while I was recording. I probably won't leave it in, so there might be a weird clip where I take out my son scaring me again. It's quiet in here when I record. Like, it tends to be pretty quiet, so he doesn't knock or anything. He just kind of shouts from the other side of the door and just appears there, or just opens up the door and I jump out of my skin because it's gone from quiet, me focusing on what I'm saying, to, oh my gosh, you just came in. Okay. So I probably will cut that out just because it's awkward and it kind of messes with the timing of it. So if there's like a weird cut, that is why. This is also why I don't do these live yet. So again, if anyone would like to find me on Instagram, they can at fearmeitsbre, also on Twitter at fearmeitsbre. And you can subscribe to the channel, you can like the video, or you can walk away from this and never think of me again. But if I'm dwelling in your head rent-free, then I guess I did something right. So I will leave you all. I will try and be on again tomorrow. I might be doing something in the morning, not sure yet, so I'll record whenever I get a chance to, hopefully. And I definitely want to jump on Thursday and do an episode then, because I'd like to try and keep putting content out. And not accidentally take a 2-week break again like I did a ways back when I was sick. So I will see everyone hopefully tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, I will be back on Thursday, and have a great rest of your day.